If you're thinking about buying the Nike Metcon 9s, then you need to watch this video. I tried both the regular and the FlyEase version of the Metcons to see if there were any major differences. And you might not think it, but there is a slight difference between the two versions that I'll get into in this video. I'll also tell you what's new in this version of the Metcon, what they're like to work out in, and of course, whether I think you should buy them. So before I start, this review is my review. Nobody from Nike has sent me these shoes and asked me to talk about them. All my own opinion. I worked out in these shoes for 2 weeks, which I think is enough time for me to form a solid opinion of a shoe. I wouldn't say that I'm a Metcon fanboy at all. The shoe, in my opinion, has had its ups and downs, but I'd say that historically, they have been a good all-rounder as a gym shoe. I've tried several models of the Metcon. I still work out from time to time in my very old Metcon 4s that I've had since day one, and they have actually held up pretty well. The thing is, the Metcon, in my opinion, is no longer the best shoe in its category. In recent times, the Reebok Nano X3 has actually really impressed. The Reebok Nano has also plugged some of the holes that the Metcons haven't addressed in a few releases. I'll put a link to my review in the description if you want to have a look at that. So in order for me to get a complete idea of the Metcon models and to leave no stone unturned, I bought both the regular version of the shoe and I bought the FlyEase or the Easy On version of the Metcons. With the regular Metcons, you have a normal lace-up shoe, but with the FlyEase Metcon, you get a compressible heel that gives you the ability to get them on and off without having to bend down and adjust them. This is great for athletes who may have lower levels of mobility or disabilities that may make it harder for them to put on or take off shoes. I actually think this is a great idea. More brands should be doing things like this. So let's start off with my thoughts on the design. To be honest, I actually like what they've done here. The design isn't grotesque or a massive jump from the previous model. I think they've gone a little bit more toned down, just a tiny bit. One of the major disappointments for me with the last release was that I felt nothing much had really changed from the previous version, but I feel that the upper design on these is quite a significant change. Just to let you know, the FlyEase only comes in this orange color and a black and gray color, I think it is. I actually hope they come out with more color selections of the FlyEase version. Historically, they haven't, so I'm not holding out much hope. They normally have more color selection with the regular Metcon. This is the AMP model. You can also edit your own shoe with the regular Metcon version, something you can't do with the FlyEase, which is quite disappointing, but you can't have everything. The biggest change that you'll notice are firstly, the design in the upper forefoot looks very different. It now has a mesh-like material that's sitting on top of a regular upper. I can't properly see underneath the upper without getting out a pair of scissors, but the two layers come together and give a stronger, flexible, and more breathable material, which is good. There's also some raised rubber stripes on the medial side of each shoe. The base of the shoe is a little wider, which should make you feel more stable in these shoes, and also if you're doing things like clean and jerks, things that involve a little bit of jumping, these should make you feel more stable. The last thing is that they've made a change with the rope guard. This is a very welcome change. The rope guard on the previous models has been useless for a while, so some people have complained about it being worn down after an extended period. So Nike made it bigger, more durable, and grippier to the touch. Now with the rope guard feeling more grippy, it initially gave me the hope that maybe Nike have actually been listening to what a lot of people, including myself, were complaining about with the previous versions of this shoe. The midsole foam also feels a little bit softer to the touch than the 8s did. Apart from that, there isn't really a lot else different in the construction of the actual shoe. The heel drop of 4mm is the same too. Now, as you can probably imagine, at the first initial stage, I was very excited to try out the Metcon 9s and see what they were like. So, what were the Metcon 9s like to wear? Starting with the regular version of the Metcons here in white, wearing them, they were comfortable, just as I expected, apart from one small thing. For some reason, the upper in this section felt quite high and was rubbing into my ankle a little bit. But on the FlyEase model, this wasn't an issue for me. They've got the same construction, so I'm not sure why that was happening, but it's just something I experienced and it was quite annoying. It was the same when I wore longer socks too. Could be the way that I angle my feet, I'm not sure. I will update in the comments if it improves over time with more use. As I said, they maintain the same 4mm heel drop, so you won't notice anything majorly different in the fit if you're coming from the previous versions. Now the FlyEase version gave me a very similar feeling to the regular version, as you probably would expect, but they were a little bit more comfortable to wear. Now that leads me to the biggest difference that I found with the FlyEase version versus the regular version. Let me explain a little bit because this might not apply to everybody. The FlyEase version felt like it had a little bit more room in it. When I normally buy Nike shoes, depending on the model, I either buy a UK size 12 or a 13. My absolute perfect size in Nike shoes would be a UK 12.5, but they don't release that size in a lot of their shoes, so I sometimes have to try a 12 and a 13 to see which one feels better. I said all of that to say, even though both of these shoes are a UK size 12, the FlyEase version feels like it has more space. it actually feels more like a 12.5, while the regular Metcon feels like a strict 12. I really don't know if it's something to do with the Flyease construction. Maybe they've allowed for more room in certain areas of the shoe because the heel entry maybe puts different stresses on the shoe. I don't know, but it was a difference that I was actually cool with. I'm not sure if this sizing issue is present in every size or if it's just an anomaly with the larger men's sizes, but it's just something worth noting that many people won't be aware of. So if you want a bit more room, consider trying your size in the Flyease version or vice versa and see how they feel. Let me talk a little bit about working out in them. Now I have to say that nothing much seems to have changed. The sole feels a little wider to the previous model. They didn't feel any harder or softer to me. Having worked out in both the regular and the Flyease version, I would say that the Flyease has a slight edge on the regular version, but that's only because of the upper material rubbing problem that I mentioned earlier. Running in them felt the same. They still aren't great for longer distance running, I'm afraid to say it. So if you're someone who runs for longer distances in your workouts, it might be an idea to consider a different shoe altogether. I had hoped that the softer feeling sole would maybe make them feel more comfortable during longer runs. It might feel a little softer when you're squatting really heavy weight, but the difference really isn't that big. Now the big question is the rope guard any grippier? I tried the rope guard out to see if it actually grips rope better than the previous models did, and it does, but only by a little bit. Personally, I feel it would have been cool if they went a bit more radical with this rope guard design and changed the actual shape of the rope guard section itself, because even though the rubber is a little bit grippier, I still feel there's a lot they could do to make a better rope guard, but it's an improvement worth noting. If you don't climb ropes in your workouts, then it's probably not even going to matter to you. Are the Metcon 9s a good shoe? Now the Metcon 9s in my opinion are a good shoe, and I actually think that's a problem. Now let me explain. Design wise, they have upgraded a few things like the rope guard being a little grippier. It's a welcome change, but I don't feel like anything makes these a massive improvement over the previous version. I do wish Nike went a little bit more innovative and they tried new things with this shoe, because I think the Metcon 9 still feels like it could be a better shoe, and I think it's only a few features away from being considered maybe the ultimate all-rounder of a cross-training shoe. Something I've always thought they should do is add zoom technology to the forefoot in the actual sole. That could possibly make running in them for longer distances a much better experience. But let me know in the comments as well if you've worn the previous versions of the Metcon and what features, if any, did you wish to see in the newer model. I feel like the discomfort during longer distance running in this shoe and the previous versions has been quite a drawback and something that competing brands have actually picked up on. So which one would I go for? The Flyease version or the regular version? Now out of both of them, I personally prefer the Flyease version. Why? Because they just feel a lot more comfortable. But the thing that doesn't do it for me is that when you compress the heel repeatedly to get in and out of them, it really creases and degrades the heel. And it actually makes them look more worn than they actually are. If you notice here, I've only creased these a few times and there's already creases in the actual heel there. I'm not sure if you can see that. It doesn't actually take much for the heel to start showing signs of wear. Creases started to form in the heel in this shoe just after 2 days of compressing the heel to get in and out. I know it's just a small thing and it's not something that I think will affect the fit or the performance of the shoe at all, but it's just worth mentioning. Just from an aesthetic standpoint, I don't think that I like my shoes looking more worn before they reasonably should. But let me know in the comments below, which one of these shoes looks more attractive to you? Flyease version or the regular version? So that was my take on the Nike Metcon 9s. A definite improvement, but I think there's still some work to do. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. So with that being said, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.